Now, if we take a look at Destiny recoil direction stat, you can see that the higher the number, the tighter the cone is going to look like. And what immediately comes to mind when I see this is the normal distribution, right? Where the mean is going to be the direction based on our recoil stats, whereas the standard deviation is going to be how tight or spread out the recoil is going to be for the yaw direction, because we've already finished the pitch direction, right? So that's how we're going to use it. For the recoil yaw for the left and right, we're going to use normal distribution. And I'm not sure if there is like a function that I can use to generate a random number from normal distribution. At least I couldn't find it from any documentation, so I decided to just use the um, the standard library from C++. And so first we can just go ahead and add some new properties for the recoil yaw. And I can just add this below here and just rename some of them to yaw and initial recoil. This becomes yaw. This also becomes yaw. All right, and maybe change this to 8, I think. Yeah, that could work. And we also want to edit the recoil start. So that should be right over here. Okay, so start recoil. There's a lot that we need to write here. But basically what we want to do is just add recoil yaw force, base recoil yaw force, and there's also, it's basically the same thing, I think. Okay, no, it's not exactly the same, but what we want to do here is, so we use the standard library for random device first, and this is instantiated for every recoil. I'm not sure if that's optimized, but I'm gonna do this for now. 31937 gen rd. Okay, now for the direction stat, we can get this from the recoil base stat that is sampled from our curve, right? So recoil direction curve, get float value in recoil stat. So it will give us the direction value. Is it a positive number, a negative number, or is it 0 if it ends in 5, right? And from that number, we also want to create direction scale modifier. And what this number is, it's a direction stat over 100. And this will give us a number between -1 and 1, right? Okay, and the standard deviation is gonna be initial recoil yaw force times F minus recoil stat over 100. So this is just the standard deviation for our normal distribution. And we can now generate the value itself. So normal distribution float d initial recoil yaw force. So that's the the mean So we multiply this with the direction scale modifier, right? Scale modifier, and then the standard deviation, right? So basically what we have here is we have the mean, and the mean is going to be the recoil yaw force times the direction scale modifier. And what this tells us is in which direction the recoil will go towards, right? And this is how random it's going to get, the standard deviation. That's basically what it is. All right, so the recoil yaw velocity, we're gonna generate this from this distribution, the gen, and then the same thing that we did, the damping value is going to be the recoil yaw, the velocity times negative, because to dampen it, we wanna dampen it in the opposite direction, right? And so we multiplied it with a negative number, and we divide it by 0.1 because we want it to happen within 1/10 of a second. And okay, we also want to edit the tick function. So in tick component, so we also want to add something in the tick component, and obviously we want to edit this. Instead of 0, we want to apply the yaw value, and this is just going to be recoil yaw velocity times delta time. And we don't have to multiply with negative because we already know where it's going to go. All right. And we also want to decrease the velocity by dampening it. And so your velocity, call your damping. You know what? I made one stupid mistake. This should be initial recoil yaw force. All right, now before you hit play, don't forget to add our curve to your actor or component, in my case. So add the curve that we just created, and now compile, save, and this should work. So there is that yaw recoil, and the reason why it's going to the right is because the rifle has a recoil stat of 80, which, if you remember, tilts to the right. If we instead go to 70, then it's going to go to the left. And it also is going to have a lot more spread. On the contrary, if we have something like 85, then you guessed it, the recoil is going to go quite straight, right? There is a little bit of standard deviation here and there, but generally it's going to pick at the center, right? So that is the recoil yaw.